What are you guys talking about up here?
Where I'm talking about this podcast. I know the hosts. You know what we haven't done in a while? We haven't paid homage to Kristen Wiig. And so, welcome to You Do, a podcast where we explore everything queer, Asian, and identity and get into everything that you do.
I'm your host, Vince Buendicho.
And I'm Matt Vo.
Woo! 7th episode.
7 episodes.
7 heavens.
7 heavens. Today we also have a very special guest, but we're gonna get into that a little bit later. With every episode, we start off with how do you do? So Vince, how do you do this week?
This week has been very interesting. Well, the last 2 weeks has been very interesting for me. I recently downloaded Hinge again.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I know. I'm back in these streets, and it's a struggle street. I was just like, I didn't know how grim it is out there. I mean, kind of always knew, but I got inspired by some friends who are like so lovey-dovey at the moment that I'm like, oh man, that's nice. I want that. So I took it upon myself to download Hinge again, and
you redid your profile.
I redid my profile. You know, I don't really have any like good photos, so I was like reusing some old ones. But you know, to start, I'm just soft launching. We'll see where that goes. But other than that, everything's good. I mean, I've been clocked a few times about my glasses, so I also got you can't really see, but they're like terrible. This is the representative of my current dating life. It's just hanging off by
your emotional, just taped together.
Yeah, literally just bandaged up, rubber banded. And that's been my week. It's sunny. Yeah. How about you, Matt? How do you do?
My week's been good. Like next week is, well, actually, we're recording this on Thursday, the 10th of April. And this weekend is the first weekend of Coachella. I am going to Coachella next week, weekend 2, and it's going to be my first festival ever. And I've just been watching. Yes, I've never been to any festivals, like music festivals.
Oh my god!
No, ever.
You're gonna be so tired.
I'm going hard. The first festival is going to be Coachella. I've just been watching a bunch of like videos and studying the map and going on Reddit to see all these tips. And I'm just so excited. I'm like trying to just brace myself. It's going to be the longest week ever because like I have my outfits planned and just seeing the lineup of artists.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome this year.
There's just so many stages too to like consider, and then I'm really excited. I'm really excited to see all of these artists live, and it's like not really an artist that I'm like dying to see. I'm like
not even Gaga.
I mean, I love Gaga, but I'm not like I will see her obviously. But it's like low pressure artists that I'm like, oh, if I miss this artist, I'm like, okay, it's fine.
You're not gonna be bothered.
You know, I did find out this week that you're not going to be here for my birthday, so that made me really sad. But that it is what it is as life of immigrants.
We don't want to get deported.
No, we don't want to get deported. We want to stay in the country and keep our jobs. So I'm pretty down about it, but I know that you're always there for me when I need you.
Of course.
So I just we'll party even harder to channel your inner queen. Yeah, exactly. Speaking of queens, our guest today, I met him actually almost 1 year ago on a fitting for Little Bird, which is an AFI thesis film that has come out already, and I know it's going to do some festival rounds. So yeah, our next guest is Paul Yen. Please welcome Paul Yen to You Do.
Hey,
hi,
guys.
Paul.
Hey.
Hello.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being on.
Of course.
So just a quick introduction. Paul is a Vietnamese American actor in LA. You also do theater. So you were part of VietCon at East West Players.
Mm-hmm.
I think I realized doing research this week that the first time I ever saw you on TV was probably, I think, season 5 of How to Get Away with Murder. You were a very smart student in Annalise Keating's class.
Yes.
And you also have a podcast called Straight Guy Queer Eye. We're so excited to just get into this episode and explore how do you do? Like,
Hell yeah, I'm
how's your
excited
week?
too. My week has been good, really good. A crappy start to the year, but the last week I've been spending a lot of time with family, and my sister got a new puppy, so I've been over there a lot.
Oh,
And
cute.
yeah, and spending time with my nieces and my nephews, and seeing my parents a lot more now because they're much older. So I think I remember one of your guys' episodes, maybe it was an episode or two ago, where you guys were talking about like, I think it was your guest, her mom was saying like she feels like she's still in her 20s, and seeing my parents, my dad always says like life goes by really fast.
Mm-hmm.
And it does. So for you two young guys, it goes by so fast. And so I'm realizing now that I need to spend a lot more time with my parents because I can.
Are your parents are in LA?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Suburbs
that's good.
of LA, not LA proper.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I always remind my parents, I'm like, especially like them living in Brisbane,
Mm-hmm.
and it's such a trek to fly home, or it's such a trek for them to fly here. I always say to them, like, it's expensive too, right?
Yeah.
For those flights and whatnot, but money will always come. Money will always come by, but moments and trips and time spent with them will never regret, and
Yeah.
will never get back.
Yeah.
And so I think that's really important, and I'm glad you're spending a lot of time with them, and I'm glad they're close.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah. I'm really lucky like that. But you know what I think is really cool is that that you take trips with your parents. I feel like most people don't do that.
I
mean,
mean,
they try not to.
Do you guys have like similar traveling styles to your parents, or?
No, my parents don't like traveling with me just because of one instance where, because I'm very like, well, I think it's just with them, because I want them to kind of see everything, right? Because they like to take their time. I'm a bit more like you, Matthew, when we're not traveling together, because you're usually this person who's like, let's go here, let's go there, like we have an hour, we can make it. So I try to do that with them, because I'm just like, I rarely travel with my parents, so when I am, I'm like rushing them. But I made them run for like an Uber once, because I know that they're going to complain about traffic, they're going to complain about like the amount of people that are trying to get the same Uber. And so I like preempted and like planned ahead, and I'm like, okay, we need to leave in 20 minutes, but we have to run. This was in Singapore. And then after that, mom is like, I am never traveling with you ever again. I'm like, but did we get home in time?
Did we die?
Did we die though? So yeah, I rarely travel with my parents. I would love to, because I see Matt's travel photos all the time with his parents, and they're like having the best time.
I know, right? Because Matt and I we linked up in Japan, and
yes,
I got to meet your parents when we were up at just walking up to the entrance of Mountain Fuji. So that was really, really
that was really
cool.
special.
Yeah,
I don't think we like texted each other. Like, I know we were like going to be in Mount Fuji the same day, but we hadn't been like, okay, we're gonna meet here at this time,
right.
And from our tour bus, I'm like, oh my god, that's Paul and Maggie.
Whoa!
Like,
so you guys
I'm just
didn't plan
gonna.
at all.
Or like I got off the bus and then I saw you and we were like,
I know it was me. I knew that you took the whatever time the 7:00 bus to Mount Fuji, but Maggie and I we got off the plane, went straight to Shinjuku station, and then jumped on a train to Mount Fuji. So I tried to time it, but it was kind of, you weren't sure if we were going to see each other. And I remember getting off and getting out where the train station was, and I said to Maggie, I said, okay, well, let's hope we see Matt. And then I turn and I see you getting off the bus with your parents. Yeah, it was so cool.
It was very cute. It was very cute. No, I do really love. I think the trip in Japan made me appreciate traveling with my parents a lot more, just because it is a lot of walking, but they are not one to complain about what we're doing. there to like spend time with me.
Mm-hmm.
And so over the past years, yes, there can be stressful times when you travel with anyone really. It doesn't, like, depending on what your style is, but I I love that they are very, very chill and go with the flow.
Yeah.
And yeah.
But still, I think that's really, I don't think I could travel with my parents. My mom has like a very specific personality. My dad has another type of personality. I have a different type of personality. I don't think any of us have the patience to travel with each other. So
Yeah. It's cruises. I think cruises are great for people who don't, you're just in a moving hotel basically.
I don't even think my mom would want to do that.
Really?
She's such a homebody. Yeah. She's always like, I don't want to be out in the sunlight. It gives me a headache. I don't want to go out. And she'll only go to the casino. And my dad he's willing to go out, even though he's old now. But before he loved to travel, he loved to be outside. My mom was the exact opposite. So we would basically never invite my mom to anything that had outdoor activities. Yeah.
I do want to ask about, Straight Guy Queer Eye. From the episodes that I have watched, I think even the moment that we met, you kind of made me a little bit nervous when we were doing our fitting for the first time. I know.
What? Why?
I felt like I didn't know you then, but then
Okay.
once we actually did our fitting, you were so comfortable, and I can really sense that you channel the love and the support that a true ally for the queer community is. Honestly, I am afraid of straight people.
Yeah. I was
like it's very hard to click
relate
and make conversation.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's so rare,
Yeah.
but you made it so comfortable. And as someone on the professional side too, and working in the costume design department, it just made me feel so much more comfortable to be creative. Can you talk a bit about your podcast and what you aim to make from that podcast?
Yeah, well, first of all, congratulations to you guys for this is going to be episode 7, 8, 7. So congrats to you guys. Because it's a lot of work. I do it by myself, and even with 2 people, I'm sure it's a lot of work. And I love that you're shouting out Straight Guy Queer Eye, even though I've taken a huge long break from it. But the purpose of the podcast for me was to be an ally for the queer community in other ways other than just saying, "Oh yeah, I'm an ally." I wanted to put my money where my mouth was. Yeah, it came from watching a lot of RuPaul's Drag Race and We're Here, and just growing up and being an ally to a lot of my good friends who are gay, and watching We're Here and watching RuPaul just made me realize, because the seasons in RuPaul always start off, they're all like really catty and bitchy, and they all seem like they hate each other. Yeah. But then by the time you get to the end, it really gets into the stories or their stories of how they became drag queens, or their experiences as queer people. And then you kind of get to know the queens even more, aside from them being kind of, catty and bitchy. So anyways, I always thought they're so brave, and it takes so much courage, especially in this kind of political climate, especially in the last 4 or 5 years, actually 10 years. And so when I saw a queen named Maddie Morphosis, who is a straight person that was dressing in drag, I just thought, dude, if he can go do that, then the least I can do is to start a podcast. And so I kind of played around with the idea a lot, and ultimately I came up with this idea that I wanted to have Straight Guy Queer Eye be a podcast that can show or teach straight men that they can be better men by being supportive of the queer community and watching RuPaul's Drag Race or We're Here or whatever queer content.
Yeah, that's really admirable, actually. Even going to what Matt said about how he feels not unsafe, but just we always had to kind of put up a barrier if we think that someone is too hyper masculine or that they present themselves in a different way. I think by default we adjust ourselves. to kind of not meet on the same wavelength, but just as a defense mechanism to be like, oh, I don't know if this person will kind of take liking to who I am as a person or
Sure.
my like queer energy. In being amongst like, I guess, having done a bunch of episodes now for your podcast and being surrounded by like a lot of queer people, do you think your idea of masculinity has changed by I guess being around your queer friends, but also just like watching Drag Race and like seeing, you know,
Yeah.
these amazing artists and creatives, and they're just living their truth.
Yeah. Like I already said, I think people in the queer community really inspire me. And you guys, I think drag queens, I think the trans community, I think you guys are all so brave because you're not the predominantly accepted culture or sexual, sexual orientation in the world. So for you guys to be out and about and to live your true authentic selves in spite of, the hyper masculine world that is surrounding you. And like you said, I understand why Matt's scared, right? Because you don't know who's approaching you or who is surrounding you. They might be ultra homophobic or whatever it is.
Yeah.
First makes me think that you guys are brave and just really inspiring for me. But like I've been comfortable with the queer community since I was probably, I actually remember the exact, like 17, 18 years old. And I'm 44 now. And yeah, I think to your question, I think it has made me reevaluate over the years what masculinity means.
Yeah.
I think I even touched on it on my last episode, which was a while ago, which is that this idea of masculine, it's all kind of really made up,
Yeah.
like what is masculine? Like this, do you put on a bravado? Like to me, that's not masculine, because when you're actually alpha or masculine, you don't need to put on a bravado. You just are. Yeah. I think you guys are masculine, because I think for me, I think it takes more courage to be out, than it does to, I don't know. I don't know what would be considered masculine. I don't know. So yeah, I think it has made me appreciate my feminine side, and to kind of, I don't really know how to describe it. I'm not articulate, but even things like when I go karaoke, for example, and I sing along to Madonna's Material Girl, right?
Yes.
I notice some of the dudes that I'm singing with, they're not homophobic or anything, but when they get to a material girl, right, they'll say boy, like they'll replace it with boy, because they're just like, if I say girl, I might be gay. Like, I was like, I just say girl, I don't care. Like, whatever. That's not, maybe not exactly it, but it allows me to just see, like, it doesn't make you gay. Like, I'm not afraid of it, because it's not, I don't know.
Yeah. I definitely think there is a stigma about being too feminine, even in the gay community. It's like very, very prevalent that if you're too femme or you're too this, it's like you're almost disregarded as an option, because you're going to be either too much and whatever. But I think, again, at the end of the day, it's very systemic. It's just like, why is it always that if you're a girl or a feminine, you're like looked down upon, and then at the tier above that is like, if you're gay as well, it's like you're under that category of just being less than. And it's like really,
I mean, sometimes we even do it in our own communities. Like these profiles are like mask for mask, and it's like, God, what does that even mean? Like, come on. I do want to ask, like, in going back to your singing Material Girl in karaoke, and being amongst like straight guys, how do you bring up some of these conversations with them in person? It depends on the situation too, but how do we sort of educate them on being more connected? And because we're afraid of things we don't know,
right?
How do we kind of do that work in person?
As a straight person, how you can't, it's hard. It depends on the situation, right? You can't just go up to them being like, hey, gay people are amazing, so get over it. It doesn't work that way. But there are, actually, just last night, I got done working out, and in our condo, there's a community of people who do yoga together. So they happen to be doing yoga. It's my friend Frank, and then the rest are women, and they're doing yoga. And this guy Eric, whose wife was doing yoga, he just got done working out, and he was standing over there looking at him. He came over, he started to get ready to go home because he was finished. And I said, "Oh, you're not going to do yoga?" And he goes, "No, that's for girls." Right? So in that moment, I think is an opportunity, not sit down and lecture, but I think I just nonchalantly said to him, "No, it's not. I do yoga." You know, I said, "It's actually really hard." That goes, for me, I think that goes further than sitting there and lecturing somebody, because I think if you try to lecture somebody, they're gonna put walls up, or they're gonna get defensive. Yeah, you know. And so I try to maybe put like a seedling of, oh, okay, well, maybe that's not, you know. Or if I sing to Material Girl or Time After Time or whatever it is by Cyndi Lauper, you know, it's like I've had guys go, "That's what you're gonna sing to him," and then I just play it off. Not play it off, but I just say, "Yeah, it's a great song." And then so that way they can see someone who is, I guess, masculine. A lot of people say I have alpha energy, but I think that's weird because I don't. I'm so open. Like I think for guys who are alpha, I think when they see that, they can either go, "Oh, okay, well, there's this guy Paul that I know, and he's not gay, obviously, and he's able to do that." I hope that that's what helps them kind of get over it. It takes a longer time, but I think that's more real, you know what I mean? Than
because you're so secure. You're so secure in your masculinity.
Yeah, I guess so.
I feel like the key to sometimes bonding with, you know, our straight friends sometimes is vulnerability. If we're able to be vulnerable with them and vice versa, like I would always kind of preach that in university with our straight friends, like straight guy friends too. It's about this exchange of being vulnerable. That's one way to like bond us together, because we're all looking for the same thing sometimes. You know, we have different barriers that we have to go through, but at the end of the day,
I think you're right, because vulnerability, and I think that's the key, right? Is that when I don't know, straight people who aren't either super comfortable or maybe are homophobic or whatever, if they see you guys and just see, oh, they you know, they get their feelings hurt, you know, when they go through a breakup, or they are whatever it may be, they're just like me, right?
Yeah.
That I think ultimately hits the nail on the head, because all that other stuff, whether it's saying girl or boy when you sing the song, I can't even think of things that are considered masculine because I don't really care. But whatever that is for people, it's all surface stuff.
Yes,
right.
Exactly.
And I actually think the more homophobic you are and the more loud you are about it, I think maybe you're secretly kind of gay.
Yeah,
because if you're not,
DL,
DL, you're right. Because if you're not, you're not really thinking about gay people. They're just people.
How did you and your wife get into Drag Race? Vince tells me time and time again that I need to watch it. I'm like,
I know,
only gay person that
I was
doesn't
gonna say, I
watch
was
it.
like, Matthew is not being an ally by not like he should have his gay card revoked.
Yeah, Matt, I'm a better ally than you.
You are. I've internalized homophobia.
I don't know how. I actually never asked. I don't know how Maggie got into it, but she's the one that introduced me to it.
Right.
During the pandemic, and she had liked it prior to the pandemic, but during the pandemic, she asked me if I wanted to watch with her, and I said no, not because I'm not interested in drag queens. It's because I don't do reality shows. Like I don't like reality shows. But we lived in a small studio at the time, and she'd have it on, and I'd be washing the dishes or whatever, right? And then I'd hear it in the back, and I go, "Oh well, why does
you start questioning?
Why does he hate her? Or why are they fighting? Or I'd see these amazing outfits. I'm like, and then she's like, "Yeah, he made that." I'm like, "What? Get the fuck out of here! He made that, or she made that?" And she's like, "Yeah." And then then you find out they have these challenges where they're given a bunch of junk, and then you see them walk on the runway, and it blows the mind. Like they have a week to prepare this, right? Vince knows.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have been a very huge like fan of it from, I wouldn't say from the start. It did take me a while to get there. I think it had been famous like for such a long time, but I think the first season that I ever watched was like season 6 with Bianca Del Rio.
Oh yeah, we love Bianca Del
Yeah,
Rio. Yeah.
like as soon as I saw that clip of her just being cunty, I was just like, oh my god, who is this? What? Yeah, like what season did you watch? Like what season was playing around that time? I can't remember.
I do think my favorite seasons are the beginning up until season 4 and 5, but I just think that it's because it was so new at the time, right? And so there were drag queens who were just trying to get on, and there wasn't really a blueprint.
Yes.
You know, season 1 and 2 was the show still trying to figure itself out, and then season 3, 4, 5-ish, they kind of had figured out the rhythm of the show. And then once it became kind of more mainstream, now queens come on apparently, and they all, you know, when they do when they first get introduced on the first episode, they all have taglines, they all have things they want to say, because they understand that they're a product now, and
exactly,
if they hit it off with the audience, they're gonna be able to make a living, because
they're
it's
gonna have
hard
shirts,
to make
they're gonna merch.
yep, they're gonna have merch, they're gonna have everything, and you know, more power to them, because it's a business. Like as an actor, I'm constantly trying to sell myself. So for drag queens, you have to sell yourself, and
you're
so we get it. But yeah, we love RuPaul's Drag Race to the point where because I was doing the podcast as well. So RuPaul, we were watching All Stars, Down Under, Canada,
oh my
UK versus the world.
Oh my god,
the Australian one. And this comes from a lot of Australian fans too. They're like, oh, they're not up to par with the UK and the American queens. And plus it kind of, I feel like it loses its when RuPaul's not on there as a judge. You're kind of like, okay, it's just there's no way I can keep up, you know? So we stopped watching the ones without RuPaul. Yeah.
Damn. Australia doesn't have the budget for RuPaul.
Not the budget. There are certainly queens that are really, I'm gonna get dragged by the drag queens or RuPaul drag fans. I'm so sorry. No, it's just, you know, you have a finite amount of time. So we just watch like RuPaul, obviously, All Star. We watch UK versus the world. Because those are the ones that RuPaul judges. That's all.
I know that you were talking about like drag queens having to like kind of sell themselves to the public, and the way that you as an actor have to sell yourself as well. Our episode last week, we had Eliza, who is a musical director for theater. I was wondering, like, how did you get started in theater, and what ways does that feel different to you in the film world?
It's all connected to my kind of journey as an actor. Long story short, when you're Vietnamese growing up, you don't think you're going to be an actor. Like that was the furthest thing from my mind. I didn't even know it was a thing until junior high school, but I didn't think I was going to be an actor. When I was in college or uni, I was in community college here is what they call it. And I had my girlfriend at the time, her close friends were all film majors. So I kind of half jokingly said, when you guys become famous directors, just put me in your movies. and they said, why don't you take a theater class? And I had never, ever in a million years thought about taking a theater class. Never in high school, none of that. But it fulfilled an elective. And so I said, why not? Because at that time, I also didn't know what I was going to do for a career. And so because it filled an elective, I took it, and I ended up really enjoying it. And funny enough, I just had lunch or coffee with Jennifer Mosier, my first theater professor from over 25 years ago, a month ago.
Wow.
Anyway, so I took it. And at the time, this is how naive I was, because again, Vietnamese people, you don't see us on TV, so you don't think it's really a career path or anything.
Yeah.
But I thought, I'm going to get headshots and Steven Spielberg's going to discover me because I'm the only one that's doing it. And Steven hasn't called me yet. But I just kind of really dicked off a lot of my time. I didn't really understand what it meant to be an actor, how serious you had to be about it. And I just thought, I want to do film and TV. That's it. I'm never going to do theater. Theater's for dorks, right? And in that theater class, she had us watch, in America, we have this thing called the Actor Studio. I don't know if you guys know about it. Yes. He interviewed Alec Baldwin, who I wasn't a fan of at the time for no particular reason, but Alec Baldwin does theater and film. So one of the questions James Lipton asked him was, when you're in theater, what's the difference from that to when you do film? And I was just like, yeah, in my mind, I remember thinking, yeah, film's just better and it's cooler, right? And Alec Baldwin said, well, when you do a movie and the audience is watching your movie, Tom Cruise is off in the Bahamas somewhere drinking a pina colada or something, like, I'm paraphrasing, but a pina colada, and the audience is just watching the movie. But in the theater, the audience experiences every moment with you every single night, and the performance is always different. And I don't know what it was, because I didn't really know anything about theater at the time, but I just thought, oh, that sounds so cool to be able to just experience something different every single night. And then I suddenly told Jennifer, I said, oh, I want to do theater. And then she recommended me audition for some small play at the college at the time, and I did it. And that's kind of when I started to do theater. Yeah, a little bit. But then fast forward, I didn't take it seriously. I dropped out of school. I just thought, you don't need a college degree or anything to become an actor. Like Brad Pitt, I don't think has a college degree. Tom Cruise doesn't have one. So I didn't think I needed one either. I ended up getting into a lot of debt and having to work full time. And a good friend of mine, who's still my friend to this day, Tom, kept telling me, dude, why don't you go back to school for acting? And I kept telling him, I don't need a degree to be an actor. And mind you, I wasn't doing anything towards acting at this moment. I'm just working full time. And then one day he said it to me again. Credit to Tom. Shout out to Tom for pushing me for 2 years. But he said it one day, and I said, Tom, I don't need a degree to be an actor. And he snapped. He goes, college isn't about a degree, you dumb fuck. He's all, he said, it's about learning about yourself and the world around you.
Oh my God, what a good friend.
And again, I had this, like, same as the theater moment. I was all, oh man, I never thought about college that way. Because growing up Vietnamese, your parents are just like, go to school, be a lawyer.
That thing off the list.
And I'm not, that's not how I kind of work or function or think. But when he put it like that, I thought, oh man. So then that next semester, I went back to school. I took one class, and then the following semester after that, 2, 3. And ultimately, I went back to school full time and quit that full time job to pursue acting. But when I quit that full time job, I said, all right, are you gonna take this seriously? Or are you going to be that kid from 2000, 2001 where you're just going to wing it again? And I was like, no, I'm going to take this seriously. So then I quit the full time job and went back to school, and then graduated and have been at it ever since. Yeah. To answer your question, the theater moment came long before, but then fast forward, when I went back to school, I thought, okay, once I graduate from college, I'm going to do theater. I want to do theater. I want to do television. I want to do short films. I want to do movies, whatever I can get my hands on, basically.
It's like the art of storytelling. I did attend a actors audit. Well, and
did you?
I audited a class. Yes. It really is about like understanding like the world around you and even like yourself too, because you have to kind of think about what part of you personally is in this character, or what you bring to this character based on your identity.
Your personal experience.
Yeah. And so growing up Vietnamese, growing up as children of immigrants, like, are there any cultural nuances or perspectives that you have that you can apply to these characters and stories?
Yes and no, because in Hollywood, a lot of the stories that are told aren't like Vietnamese stories that are modern, right? So, for example, a lot of the stuff I've done that are Vietnamese related in Hollywood are playing a refugee or an immigrant, or which you can relate to, obviously.
Yeah.
But then there's the other side of it, which is like we're also just Americans, right? So yes, when I was in, I played the father. I played the father in Young Sheldon, and it's a comedy. And you know, just growing up and listening to my dad's accent, I was able to draw from that, and it helped me in the industry. Where when I was growing up, it was kind of, you know, it was kind of taboo to have an accent. But at the same time, you know, if you're playing a Vietnamese person in modern day, yeah, you can draw from the story because you're obviously an immigrant or a child of immigrants, but those roles don't come often. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So oftentimes the roles I'm playing, like I said, are immigrants or refugees. So not that it's easy, but there's this thing that an acting coach named Larry Moss calls blood memory, right? So I'm Vietnamese, and if I'm playing a Vietnamese, I don't have to work too hard to understand because I grew up with immigrant parents, refugee parents, and family. So I really just draw from the stories that they've told me. And in life, you've already absorbed that, right? And so as the character, in essence, you don't sit and think about it all the time. It's just in you.
Yeah.
So yes, as in it, you think you conjure up these old thoughts and feelings and experiences, but it's not like in depth where I'm playing Abraham Lincoln or something and I'm drawing from that part of, you know what I mean? So it's sort of a weird thing. So for example, for Viet Gone, I had to focus more on the rapping because I'm not a rapper and I'm not musical at all. All I did was watch the Vietnam documentary by Ken Burns. I just interviewed my dad a lot. I just talked to him a lot and asked him about his experience when they came here, asked my mom about her experience, and just read as much, you know, stuff on it as I could. And I just absorbed that. But really my main attention was on trying to rap because, you know, you have a finite amount of time. So what am I going to focus on? So the Vietnamese part was not hard for me. So I know that doesn't really answer your question, but I thought about this because obviously you told me before, but we don't have Vietnamese people in the industry. So what I do draw from, not acting wise, is like Vietnamese people were really resilient, right? I think Southeast Asians in particular we have to be really resilient. And I think that I do bring into the industry. I'm super stubborn. I'm not, there's no opportunities. I don't care. I'm just gonna keep going until I'm dead.
Yeah.
So
I think that's like a really good way to, like, instead of thinking representation as a physical appearance or representation as like as an identifiable like culture or whatever, I think that's such an interesting way to approach representation. Instead of being like, oh, they're Vietnamese or they're Filipino, it's like, no, what are their actual qualities as a Filipino or as a Vietnamese person? And the fact that you said resilience, I'm just like, that just blew me away, because I'm just like, you don't have to be a type of skin color to show resilience. Everyone understands what resilience means, and it's kind of just like another way to connect to other people. And as artists and as actors and as creatives, that's all we want, is to connect and convey feelings in a way where it's accessible to everyone. And I think that was just like an amazing way to summarize, I guess, like how we can represent ourselves in, not as Asians or not as Vietnamese or whatever. It's just like as creatives.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I do also think it's not that I'm not proud to be Vietnamese. I'm very proud to be Vietnamese. But as an actor, I don't want to just play Vietnamese.
Exactly.
You know, I think I should have opportunities to play a samurai. I should have opportunities to play, you know, somebody from ancient China or whatever, as long as there's no language requirement. Because otherwise, I'm only ever going to play Vietnam War, you know, stuff, because that's all Hollywood thinks of when they think of Vietnamese people.
I mean, your career, you've kind of played a range of roles. It's not just Vietnamese. Do you feel like there are enough Vietnamese modern stories in media right now, and how that landscape of storytelling could change?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of Vietnamese stories, right? I think you're a Vietnamese story. You grew up in Australia, you packed up and came here to America. That's a story. Sometimes when you're fighting for rights or to protest or whatever, it doesn't always have to be on the level of the civil rights movement or, you know what I mean, or Black Lives Matters or whatever. Sometimes something as little as playing just a guy who's married to a Vietnamese girl who's just living, that in itself is a statement, right? Because we don't see that. So yeah, I try to take any opportunities that I get to play whatever I can, as long as I don't find it offensive or I don't see it offensive to my people or to other cultures, then I'll take it, you know. But your story is just as important, Vince. Your story is just as important, I think, but only because we don't normally see that, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, like Caucasian people aren't always playing, I don't know, presidents. They're also just playing people in rom-coms.
Yeah.
It doesn't touch on their whiteness or their Caucasian or European background. They just are who they are.
It just reminded me a few years ago, Shortcomings, Randall Park's Shortcomings with Sherry Cola, Justin H. Min.
Yeah.
That was like one of the first films where I was like, wow, this is just Asian Americans like dating and your everyday sort of character.
Yep.
And I'm like, I feel like we need more of those.
Yep.
For us, we're just everyday people, you know, living our lives, and that's representation in a way that I feel like is speaking to us.
That's making a statement because people like us go, yeah, that's how we live. That's me.
Yeah.
But you don't see it all the time, so it's fascinating when you do, right?
Do you think it needs to come from writers? Because the casting breakdowns, right? Sometimes they say open ethnicity. Like, how do you know that you can apply for it, even if it's open ethnicity?
I think hopefully, I'm not really a writer, but hopefully when they put open ethnicity, they genuinely mean it. Because I feel like even though sometimes it often says that, they often go Caucasian. And I feel like, are they just putting that so they can say, "Hey, look, we're colorblind casting"? You know, I'm not sure. What I do know is that yes, the writer. It's important that the writer puts that, but maybe they can also put in nuances where, like, say, if the character is specifically Asian American, they can write in something like, "Oh, he gets home, he takes off his shoes." It's like something as simple as that, right? But you don't look into it. You don't question it. You don't make a big deal out of it. It's just something they do. So then you go, okay, yeah, well, this character's definitely Asian. But if you put open ethnicity, then hopefully they genuinely mean it. And hopefully when they are casting, they are actually colorblind and the best person, you know, gets the job.
Yeah.
But I just feel like often if I go in for something that said open ethnicity, it tends to go Caucasian, or it'll go African American,
or sometimes they cast like racially ambiguous.
Right. Right.
Is that a thing? Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's all sorts of funky things that, you know, that I don't know. It's just weird sometimes.
I mean, you've been in the industry for quite a while. Do you have advice for young Vietnamese Americans starting in the industry and how they can really channel their identity to get the roles that they want?
Oh man, if you're a young Vietnamese American and you're trying to be an actor, maybe nowadays it's a little easier, but you have to really want it, and you really have to fight against everything that your parents don't want you to do, right? First, I think that's the biggest hurdle. It might be, and I say it might be a little easier now because now you're starting to see more Vietnamese people. You're starting to see more Asians on, so maybe it's become a little more attainable in some parents' eyes. But really, the majority, if you want it, you really have to work hard at it and push yourself, stay in for the long haul, because your parents are always going to want to have something tangible that they can see, but a lot of the work as an actor that you put in isn't tangible. Like you're not going to book a majority of the stuff that is out there. You know what I mean? Right. So that's the biggest thing. Second piece of advice I would give to young Vietnamese or young Asian American actors in general: you don't have to take every job. If it's offensive to you, it's okay to say no. There's power in saying no. obviously somebody's probably going to take the job of the Asian with the accent, right? But you can empower yourself by saying no. My first professional gig was an Asian character with an accent. And I was like, I fought it so, I was just like, do I take this? But because it was my first professional credit, I took it. But right after I booked it and shot it, I told my agent at the time, Linda, I said, I'm not going to do any more Asians with accents if they're the joke, if they're the butt of the joke.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because obviously there are Asians who have an accent, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But when they use it as a comedy to laugh at us, then I said no more.
That's no. Yeah.
So yeah, just know that you have power in saying no. Just be prepared for a lot of no's.
Rejection after rejection.
Rejection after rejection. Yeah.
I know that you have a film that's coming out in May at the LA Asian Pacific Film Festival. Mannequin, Mark Tran's Mannequin. Can you talk about the premise of the film and what audiences can expect? I did get the lucky opportunity to read the script, I think last year. And I just fell in love with it. I think it's really interesting what Mark is trying to do. Can you talk a little bit about the film that's going to come out?
Yeah, so Mannequin is a thriller about a dad or father's slow descent into madness while he's taking care of his daughter by himself because his wife is away in Vietnam for her dad's funeral. And that's basically the gist of it without giving anything away. But there are themes to me of like fatherhood, motherhood, parenthood. There's themes of family, things like that, and that Mark geniusly puts into this film. And so, yeah, that's the gist of it to me. That's what I try to tell people without giving away too much information. Yeah. Like you get all these he does this really cool thing where you kind of, they're refugees, but when does it take place? You know what I mean? So you're kind of lost in this world of time and space and almost kind of like reality too. Like you're lost and there's there's a twist. What I figured out and I found out later from Mark was that I see the movie the short film as a tribute to his daughter and his wife. And it's really beautiful. Yeah. And I'm really, really proud to be a part of it. Yeah.
What was the shooting experience like? It was shot in the Bay Area, right?
Yeah, it was shot in Oakland. The experience was great. We 4 days of shooting, 1 day of rehearsal, and Mark is such an actor's director. He is so collaborative. He let us, change lines if we needed to, not change the intention of the line, but if we said, this doesn't feel right, I wouldn't say it like this. Yeah. He was open to changing it. He was open to improving the script. And, he also expects that you come in and you're prepared. Yep. So as long as we were prepared, which Porter and I were, and everyone else in the cast was as well, he was really fun to work with. Our first day we had rehearsal because he likes these long one shots that kind of not transcend, but kind of jump through time.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And
I love that.
Yeah. And you have to see the shot. Okay. It's really, he uses it, I want to say twice. I don't even remember. But we rehearsed it because that was the main shot that he wanted to get. So that was our first day. That's what we came in, we rehearsed that. And then we ran it over and over. And you saw Mark collaborate with his cinematographer. You saw him collaborate with his first AD, everybody, the script, the script was his, but he once he put it out there, he was so open to taking in ideas from everybody else. And it made it just really fun to be on. And
I can't wait to see it.
Get your tickets.
I know. I just feel like it's so admirable to see all these filmmakers, especially Vietnamese filmmakers. I've talked to you about it before, but I've wanted to get into the directing world and just learning from everyone, learning from production designers, costume, AD, everyone to be able to execute the vision and the storytelling and kind of get the message across on screen.
Yeah,
So
you should go see it. Vince, come down, come see it.
I know.
And I want to. We got to hang. If you're ever down here, we have to hang.
I
With you.
know.
You're so
Yeah.
cool. And we got to watch RuPaul together.
Oh my god, I was about to say we need to sit Matt down and initiate him. But I would really love to. I think it's been really awesome getting to know you, because I mean, when Matt mentioned that you were going to be here, I think I was a bit not hesitant. That's the wrong word. Oh my god, it's more. Oh my god, a straight guy. No,
our first straight guest.
I'm here. Wait,
I mean, first straight guy guest.
Oh, okay, what an honor! That is so cool.
Yeah, but yeah, it was more of just like it really would put us to the test of me, especially because I'm not knowing you personally. I think I had to what do you call it, lock in a sense, to really hear you and kind of like connect with you, and then for my my questions or anything that I kind of wanted to ask. And I think you're just so relaxed and chilled that I'm like, oh my god, okay, this is great.
Paul's a brother.
Yeah,
Paul is like
I am.
Big brother.
I love y'all. Well, I do want to hear more about both of you, because Matt, you said it broke my heart to hear you say that when you meet straight people, and I understand, but I just want to. I guess I want to hear more about that, because I never even thought about that. That that when you meet someone who's straight, that you put up a wall, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me. I mean,
I talked to my therapist about it. I'm like, why? So the sauna room talk, right? The sauna room is
like
where all these.
Talk? You mean locker room or sauna?
The sauna, because we're all sitting in the same, like, my gym has like men and women, women's, like, it's separated. So when I'm in the sauna rooms, it's like, how do I even interject into these conversations? Or like, do I have to kind of bro it up a little bit to be able to connect with these guys? And I am reminded that I need to, like, they need to be able to feel comfortable in my space rather than I have to feel comfortable in their space. And like, take back that power and not let that affect the way that I am in, like, I exist in this world, because I have to be really sure of myself. And I just feel like it's growing up, it's been something I've been working on and dealing with, but the older I get, the less
fucks you give.
Fucks I give.
Good for you.
Yeah, it's definitely a work in progress, but yeah.
What about you, Vince? Do you feel the same?
Yes and no. I think I had, being in the closet for such a long time, I think by default I have learned how to put up a front, which is kind of annoying, because sometimes, like, it kind of irks me that I have to be that way, and I have to remind myself exactly what Matt says, that I am existing in this space with them, and I'm not away from that. Like, they also have to feel comfortable around me,
right?
And it took a lot of unlearning to figure out not the personality, but the kind of, like, how I present myself in these situations. And I'm constantly reminded, actually, by a good friend of mine, Will, whenever he sees me interact with other people, is like, why do you look so straight? Or like who was that person, kind of thing. It's like, I was like, oh damn,
that's interesting. This duality of existing, right? It's hey man, I just think, as a straight person, I think you guys should be yourselves. Obviously it's easier said than done, because going back to why I think you guys are so brave is because if you are authentically yourself, but if somebody that is straight is so offended that they decide to hurt you, there's no, you know what I mean? And that's why you guys are so brave, I think. And people who are out and open are so brave, because I don't know, I don't think straight people could, actually, I know they can't be as brave, because the ones who are straight and allies, they don't care, you know what I mean? But the ones who are maybe closeted, that hate gay people because they're maybe able to be themselves, like, that shows you that you have to be brave to be able to come out, because that's how fearful some of the people are. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so they're just projecting insecurity sometimes.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. That's why often the ones, you see in the ones that scream the loudest get arrested for all the crap
Yes.
that they're yelling and claiming that gay people and trans people and drag queens are doing, you know?
Yeah.
So, and Vince, you said you rock climb, right?
I do. Well, kind of.
What?
You do.
How do you kind of?
You do.
You
it's
do?
it's more of a, like, when I moved here, I think, because skirmish Squamish is literally just like an hour drive from here, and that's like the
Okay.
mecca of climbing.
Yeah.
So by default, I think I was just like, my friends were just like, just come climbing once. And then at the time, it was like outside. I didn't know
Yeah.
that I technically should have gone indoors first. But anyway, I got initiated, and I used like sneakers to climb on. It was so bad, and they were like, "Is that what you?" Okay, sure.
Wait, when you
I was
started,
so
you mean?
unprepared. Yeah, like
Oh, okay,
I
but you don't
literally
now.
just no, of course
Oh,
not.
okay.
Because I tried like a 5'7", and then I was like, okay, this is fine. Tried a 5'8", and I was like, I am slipping. I can't do this.
Right.
But no, yeah, I'm kind of trying to go consistently. I think it's another outlet for me to kind of just be like, this is
Yeah.
fun. I want to keep exploring this. I think because in terms of performing, I love dance. Like, I used to compete back in Australia, so
Okay.
in some ways this has helped me, because like just working mobility and
Right.
just putting myself in like awkward positions, I think has been like really fun for me. And just the mental challenge of like clearing a wall, or like
Yeah.
having a project to like work on, and seeing instant kind of results every
Yeah.
week is like you get a sense of gratification from it.
That's awesome. So that's another
But
reason
yeah,
why you
no.
should come down. So when
Yeah.
you come
You
down,
know what?
me,
We
you, and Matt
all
will go climb.
Exactly.
and climb. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
And eat tacos.
And eat
Because
tacos.
Yes. Street tacos.
Street tacos.
Yep.
Okay, let's get into our rapid fire question for
Oh.
Paul Yen.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna start off. Your favorite Vietnamese film?
Shoot. I think it's The Scent of Green Papaya. Is that the title?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, it's
I haven't
old.
seen that, but it's on my list. I think it's came out
Yeah.
in like 93 or something.
Around there. Yeah, that's when I first saw that's the first Vietnamese film I ever saw, and that one's the one that stuck to me the
Wow.
most. I almost copped out and said, "Oh yeah, it's Paris by Night stuff," but those aren't really movies.
Yes, they are. They're 3-hour movies. Every
3
Vietnamese
hours.
household had one.
Oh my
My
god.
parents had like a shelf with 1 through whatever 90 something or whatever it had gone up to. I remember that.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Vince doesn't know, but
Yeah, I don't know.
Paris by Night is like a Vietnamese music variety show that started in the early 90s. Every single Vietnamese household has like the VHS
Oh my god.
and the DVDs, and then it went to Blu-ray, and
Yeah,
now
yeah.
streaming. Like they're on a Paris by Night like 130 or something now. Yeah, it's a big one. But
my God.
okay, Scent
Okay,
of Green Papaya.
Mhm.
Love that.
All right. Pho or bun bò Huế?
Pho.
Oh, controversial.
But
Yeah.
wait, why? Who's Bún Bò Huế? Oh, okay.
Always.
Okay, to be fair though, I used to not like Bún Bò Huế. And when I was in Vietnam, so my mom used to always make bún bò Huế and pho, right? And I would I'd eat it, but I didn't really like it. And then when I was traveling in Vietnam back in 2015, we went to the city of Hue. And so this is how dumb. I was like, oh, that's Hue is like bún bò Huế. And then
That's where it's from.
yeah, they're like, that's where it's from. And I was like, oh. And I don't know, that connection and eating it there in that city made me really enjoy it and really appreciate it. So when I came back, I told my mom, I was like, "Can you make me bún bò Huế?" And she's like, "I don't make it anymore." But I'd go to a place that I really love, which we should go to, Matt. And but yeah, now I like it. I really do like it. But I do. If I had to pick.
Okay. Favorite drag queen?
There are too many. I'm gonna just list the ones that come to mind: Jinx, Willow Pill, Lady Camden, Crystal Method. I love Jujubee, Latrice Royale. I really like Alaska now too. There's so many, and of course Nymphia Wind and Plastique Tiara. They're so hot, so hot.
They are. Oh my
so
god.
hot.
Good
It's
choices.
insane. Yeah.
Go to cocktail.
Old fashioned. I make great. Matt can attest.
You do.
You do. Come over again.
I will. I'm gonna come over right
You
now.
too, Vince. You are welcome over whenever, and I will be happy to make you a cocktail.
Yes.
So good.
Okay, last one. One thing you would say to young Paul.
Oh man, get into acting sooner. It'll change your life.
You mean you're young now? Young. So you would say that to yourself right now?
God, yeah, but I would tell myself to get into acting sooner so that I can be better at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Let's get into You Do or You Don't, a segment where we get into something debatable, questionable in society.
Ooh.
Paul Yen, what is your You Do or You Don't?
I love this.
My you do or you don't is do you use a bidet?
Oh,
I don't know. I do. Is that right? Is that right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do too. As in, like, not here because that's
I
way too
don't
bougie.
have one.
I was like, that's too bougie. But in
Oh.
Japan, oh my god.
Yeah, you do in
Bidets
Japan.
It's in Japan exclusively.
But how can you go back? That's the thing.
I know. That's why I'm like, no other toilets has ever touched me that way before. All the other ones have been very disappointing.
I mean, obviously they're not going to be Japan quality.
I know, but like it's kind of like, you know, when you have a bowl of ramen or like the bumbue, right?
We're equating bowl of ramen.
I'm trying to connect. Like, you ate that in context,
Don't
and so
ruin it for
you
us.
have that, like, you know, feeling. So I had that experience in Japan. I was like, and I think I also remember specifically this was in Tokyo, in that Airbnb that we were at. I was just like, it was our first night as well. We just got there, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is great!"
What is this feeling?
And then it's like heated, and there's like
the heat.
Yeah, and then there's like whimsical like notes and stuff, and I'm like,
yeah,
it's great. So I'm gonna you do
magical.
if I can.
Matt, you don't?
It's a you do for me if I
are in Japan.
I'll put you in Japan.
Oh,
but
gotcha.
I'd love to, if anyone would like to gift us one.
Yeah.
Get sponsored by Tushy or Toto.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, the heated seat thing is funny because in our place we don't have a fancy one. Our place here we just have, it's just the water. Mm-hmm. And I remember I was like, I don't need the heated one. That's just too fancy. It's too expensive. Blah blah blah. And I've been to friends' houses who the seat opens up for you. I'm like, that's just too much, man. And then we were in Japan recently. We went to one Airbnb where they didn't have the heated seats. After using the heated seats, I was all, oh my god, this is so not comfortable.
Yeah, you're like, what is this?
But yeah,
what kind of Neanderthals do this?
So both of your answers are you sort of.
You do if we can.
Okay. Mine's you do all the time.
You portable bidet to everyone.
I wish that's a market right there.
Oh my god, that is, yeah. Patent that.
You're welcome. If you become rich, I'll take 10%.
Just come to like a house party and be like, "What you got there?"
Yeah, just my portable bidet. Don't mind me.
Well, thank you so much, Paul, for being on. Do you have any last thoughts? Anything you'd like to plug before we end this?
No, I just super appreciate you guys. Like I said, I think you guys are so courageous for being who you are and for doing this podcast. And thank you for having me on. And plug Mannequin. Come see it on May 4th at for the Los Angeles Asian Pacific Film Festival. Get the tickets because they're only selling them in batches and they keep selling out. So they'll open them. So get your ticket, Matt, and then we will have Vince after.
Yes. Okay.
And Vince.
Okay. Getting my ticket right now.
I'll be there in spirit.
Yes, you'll be here with us in spirit. But yeah, no, thank you guys for being who you are and keep being true to yourselves and keep inspiring all of us to be better people.
Thank you for being a true ally.
Yeah, an actual true ally, Matt.
Yes.
Forever and ever. Yeah, Matt. You too, Vince. You shouldn't even talk.
I know.
You're not even caught up. Thank you, guys.
All right. Well, thank you, Paul. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. See you on the next episode. Bye.
Bye.